I say this a lot in my videos, but I had no business background. I had no place to be in business, yet I was able to transform my life in the last 5 years from working a 9 to 5, barely making ends meet. I couldn't even live on my own. I had to have a roommate to pay the bills, aka my mom. Me and my mom lived together and we kind of split the bills. I transformed my life in the past 5 years to earning multiple six figures, being able to quit my 9 to 5, paying off my debt and being able to save for a house, pay off a car in full. And I don't say all of this to gloat. I say it just to show how much my life has transformed, on how happy I am and how satisfied I am in my life. If this video was sent to me 5 years ago, I would have dropped my jaw and been like, whoa, that's not me. That's someone else in an alternate universe. This all might sound kind of crazy, kind of funny when I'm saying it out loud. I still can't fully wrap my head around how much my life has truly transformed. But what I can say is that there are 10 concepts that I came across in learning, reading books, and exposing myself to YouTube videos like this. I really hope that you do watch this in full because I'm just sharing the books that I read and I'm summarizing some concepts that really did transform my life and impacted my life in my 20s. A lot of people don't know that either, that I'm actually in my 20s. Some people think I'm in my 30s. Believe it or not, in my 20s. What today I'm talking about and what I really want people to take away from this video is just mindset shifts that can help transform your life as well. So without further ado, we're gonna hop straight into this video. Don't forget to watch it in full, like the video to share to more people, and subscribe if you haven't already for more content like this. So one of the first books I read when I was working my 9 to 5 was The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And this book has completely changed my state of mind. And what's really funny is I started reading this book because I was trying to lose weight and I saw someone recommend it on Reddit and I was like, okay, this is a great weight loss book. I'm going to read it. So I read that book, and the one thing that happened while I read that book is I found that I could transform my life by just doing a simple task every single day. And I initially used the compound effect to lose weight. But what I didn't realize is after and during the process of me losing weight, because in the book, Darren Hardy suggested to maybe cut your calories by a small percentage every day instead of a large percentage, because a smaller percentage is more doable throughout a long period of time. On top of that, in the book, he suggests reading a book, maybe 10 pages a day for the next 365 days. So I ended up doing that habit as well, and I stumbled across a few more entrepreneurship books, one being The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. These two books ultimately changed the trajectory of my life. And I don't mean to be dramatic, but literally, I don't think I would be sitting here if not reading those two books, because from reading The Compound Effect, one of my favorite quotes from The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy is that small, smart choices plus consistency plus time equals radical difference. This quote stuck with me for so long. I remember I would wake up and think about it. I would go about my day, but then I would think about it again like, oh, you know, if I read this book every day and I read another book every day, just a little bit at a time, this could transform my mindsets. And over time, I began seeing drastic results in my weight loss efforts, also in my mindset, and also in my career. I was doing so much better in my career. I ended up becoming very skilled in the medical profession to the point that I was one of the newest people in my career field, but I was getting more job opportunities than anyone my age, which was really, really cool around that time when I first got a job. And I kept leveling up quite quickly. I kept getting raises and even more things in my life because I was just seeking out so much growth from just a simple book I read. I know that sounds, again, dramatic, and please comment down below and troll me in the comment section. That's a dramatic shift. If you type "that's dramatic shift," and then comma, write something else, maybe about yourself in a book that you read that was life-changing for you, I would love to see that in the comment section. But for me, that was something that just changed and altered my life so much, was knowing that small changes on a daily basis plus time, which meant patience to me, and being consistent equaled a radical difference. Those were the three things I just kept repeating in my brain for a good few years. And then out of nowhere, I ended up seeing all these opportunities in my life. And while I can't say it was that book, or maybe it was just something inside me that had always been there that I started doing, just completely transformed my life. And for that book, I'm just so happy because that unlocked that part of me that I didn't know existed. And then reading 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss changed my life in knowing that there was other opportunities out there and that I didn't have to live the regular 9 to 5 and I didn't have to go to work every day. And the way to unlock that for me would mean to find some type of online business. And I found that online business during the pandemic in 2020 and 2021 when I really jump-started my business, and I used the compound effect in order to jumpstart that business. I did a small action consistently over time, which was uploading listings on Etsy consistently over time to the point that I built a full-fledged Etsy and print-on-demand business that scaled to $250K in revenue within its first year, which was over 6 figures of gross profit, which was the most money I had ever seen in a given year by applying this concept to business, not just to health benefits. The biggest takeaway that I got from The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy is that every decision impacts your trajectory. So the food you decide to eat or pick up, is it going to be maybe a fruit or is it French fries? I remember I'd ask myself that, especially when I was trying to lose weight. It was, this decision will impact my future. Do I want to decide for health, or do I want to decide for something that is a small boost of enjoyment and then I feel bad later? Those were things I thought about on a daily basis. And then I started applying that to my daily routines. It was just a matter of, do I want to wake up early and maybe spend some extra time to create designs for my new business? Or do I want to sleep in a little bit and keep doing the same 9 to 5 the rest of my life? Those were big, impactful questions I had for myself during this time. And I asked myself that, and I looked at every single decision I made on a daily basis. And eventually that just became my life. It's something that I naturally do now that I don't even realize I do, but I think about it quite often and everything very logically. And I look at things like, is this serving my life? And if it's not serving the trajectory and the path I want to follow, then I just don't do it. So the next lesson that I learned through a book I read called The Gap and the Gain was that I learned to get myself out of the comparison trap. The comparison trap is basically where you are comparing yourself to a future ideal of yourself that hasn't happened yet, and you feel discouraged and disappointed in yourself for something that you've never attained. Now, for me, that was hitting $1 million in my Etsy business, or just $1 million in total in my career, and even net worth. I really wanted to strive for that, to be quite honest. And it sounds so greedy saying aloud, to me at least, and it sounds so silly when I look back at it, because I made enough to pay bills, to pay rent, to quit my 9 to 5, yet it wasn't good enough for me. The Gap and the Gain really taught me that we should not be comparing ourselves to, first of all, other people who aren't us. We shouldn't be comparing ourselves to the future ideal of us that we haven't even achieved yet. And instead, we should start measuring our successes not by what we haven't achieved yet, but what we have achieved. And this is something I like to say a lot and remind people of, especially clients and subscribers and followers, is that just because you haven't gotten a sale yet doesn't mean you're not successful. Even if you had 100 sales and you don't have 1,000 yet, that doesn't mean you're not successful. If you compare yourself to the past year, you didn't have an Etsy shop in the last year. That's what I told myself when I was first beginning, and sometimes I'd feel really good about that, and I'd have a streak of being happy. Here's the concept in The Gap and the Gain that I noticed during this time when I was unhappy. And I didn't read this book until 3 years after I had this episode of unhappiness, by the way. So it was a long time coming. And when I read this book, this completely shifted my thought process on just being happy and satisfied as an entrepreneur. Now, in the book, what the gap is basically measuring yourself to the ideal version of you that you haven't achieved yet. One example is that you opened an Etsy shop. That is an achievement and something a lot of people actually don't do. Even that, if you've uploaded listings, let's say you've uploaded 10 listings, that's an achievement. And just because you didn't get any sales yet doesn't mean that you are a failure. It just means that you haven't had the time in order to get a sale, or maybe that sale may be coming, but you still have to be doing, again, going back to the compound effect, small actions consistently over time in order to see a radical difference. So you might still be in that place in your life and in your business where you just haven't hit that time and consistency level to see a sale happen in your shop. In fact, this is a trap that a lot of entrepreneurs fall in, especially as you grow. Another concept that I really had to dig deep and self-reflect on was giving up the scarcity mindset and adopting the abundance mindset. So the scarcity mindset that held me back the most was that when I started on Etsy, I saw so many sellers doing so well. And to me, I kept thinking there can only be $1 million Etsy seller. There could only be a handful of successful Etsy sellers, right? Because someone has to claim the market and there's not enough customers for the amount of sellers that are on Etsy. Now, this was something that I found throughout my time on Etsy was so false and not true. And I think I used it as an excuse to make myself almost feel better in the short term, but not be successful in the long term. And through my time and experience, I eventually came out of that shell and I started sharing my story on YouTube. And even once I had my success, I almost wanted to keep a lot of things to myself and not share how I was successful because I thought that adding to my competition would do the opposite. And that's when I really had to have a self-reflection and look at all the successful Etsy sellers who are also in print on demand and how many other people have a shot at this as well. And that's when I adopted the abundance mindset. Once I started adopting the abundance mindset, which was realizing that there's not only a few customers on Etsy, there's actually millions of customers on Etsy. And with that being said, there's more customers on Etsy than there are sellers. And I have an opportunity to, first of all, have my own shop, which I eventually had success with because I started believing in the abundance mindset. The next concept that I learned was through the book, The 12-Week Year, which I really recommend to a lot of you. What I found in the 12-week year and my greatest takeaway was to track your progress and to measure as soon as you start and start setting goals and measure as you go to attain those goals rather than just setting goals, not creating an action plan, and you end up not achieving anything because you're not tracking, you're not measuring. And that's what I was doing in my time with my first business on Etsy. I honestly was tracking on an almost day-to-day or when I felt like it basis. So I would check every day. I remember at work, I would see how many orders I got and I would guesstimate how much profit I made, but I didn't really know my profit. If you guys are opening an Etsy shop or you're watching this video and you have an Etsy and print on demand shop, I do have a profit and loss sheet and a profit calculator bundle that you can find in the links in the description below. I highly recommend using this to, first of all, track your performance as you go along, just to see on a month-to-month basis your expenses, your profit, and how much that you're spending into your business so you can track your goals as you go along. On top of that, if you don't know how much profit that you're looking to achieve per sale, this calculator can go a long way in showing, okay, if I price my Bella and Canvas 3001 t-shirt at maybe $22.99, this is the profit I can expect. And then also if you're using ad spend, that also factors into everything. Please do check out that profit calculator because that can go a long way in making sure that you are making a profit per sale, especially when you're using ads. This is a hole that I dug myself into in my shop when I first began, is I was spending so much money on ads. I wasn't seeing a return on investment and I didn't know how much profit I was really making when I first began. And this is something that I would really recommend, is to start setting your goals not in a year time. I would look in the shorter term, which is 12 weeks. So what can you do in the next 12 weeks to get you to a realistic goal? So it's really important to start off by saying to start with a realistic goal and then work your way to achieve that goal. And then you can reflect back in what you achieved in the past 12 weeks, going back to the Gap and the Gain book, and be proud of all of the things that you worked on. Even if you don't see sales, be proud that you uploaded listings, maybe consistently for 12 weeks, or maybe just be proud that you opened a shop and you're trying something new and that you're learning. These are things that are really critical and crucial when you first begin, because when you begin as a new business owner, it's a huge learning curve. It is not an easy feat in the slightest. Opening a business, I feel like a lot of people might assume that it's easier than a 9 to 5 or that it's much simpler than it sounds. And it really is a lot of work that you're putting in. So please do be proud of yourself and give yourself small rewards along the way as you achieve certain tasks during your entrepreneurship journey. The next concept that I learned that was really difficult at first to learn was to take every failure as a learning experience and actually as a win, which this is something that I also read in the Gap and the Gain book. If you, let's say, fail on your business and you lose money 1 month in your business, instead of looking at this as I failed, I shouldn't do business, this should be a learning gain in your business, because through measuring and analyzing that data, maybe you see that you were spending a lot in ads and you weren't making profit because you may have been mispricing your products from the beginning. Instead of closing your shop completely and saying business isn't for me, you should maybe look at your expenses and try to flip your profit. Try to add a few dollars on every single product, or analyze every product individually and see how much you need to increase the prices to reflect you getting a profit, and let that run for the next month and see if that fixes your problem. There are so many other ways and so many new things that you can learn along your journey to see more profit in your business. So instead of taking your failure as just it being a failure and that you shouldn't own a business, I would take that and actually use it as a learning experience to do better in the next month and in the next few months in your business. The next concept that I learned in my business is to embrace leverage and use leverage as often as possible in your business. Now, the word leverage was a word that I really didn't understand, and I wanted to research more in depth in the word because it felt like something I should know as a business owner. Now, I stumbled across the Almanac of Naval Ravikant. I do apologize if I pronounce his name wrong. I feel like I'm so bad with names, especially for authors or anyone. I'm just terrible with names in general. So Naval Ravikant said, and quoted in the Almanac, "It doesn't take money to make money. It takes leverage to make money." In this almanac and in his tweets, he writes, leverage is gained through capital, labor, code, and media. And once I read these 4 things, I started applying them to my Etsy business. Now, ways that I applied this to my Etsy business is, first of all, one leverage tool that we can use is code, and code is software. So what softwares could assist me in my Etsy business? I found that through research tools. I could leverage the power of research tools on Etsy to find more really high demand niches and keywords and SEO to utilize in my business to boost my listings. The second thing is labor, and labor can be as simple as maybe hiring out a virtual assistant for your business. And this can help in maybe creating designs. This can help in maybe creating listings a little bit quicker. That is what I've heard from other people who have done that in the past in their businesses, and that can speed up your listing creation speed by a whole lot, and you can have hundreds of listings that you couldn't have otherwise done if you were just doing all of your listings yourself. The third piece of leverage is capital, which capital is using money to make money. Now, this is something that I didn't have when I really started out. I personally just started leveraging money when I got into my second year of business, where I had some profit, and since I had that overage of profit, I was like, let me use that for Etsy ads. So I used my overage of profit on Etsy ads, and that is a way that you can increase traffic by leveraging the capital you do have. But for me, starting out, I didn't have that, which led me to the 4th type of leverage, which is leveraging media. So having media, having followers, that is a huge leverage piece that you can use in an Etsy business. And that's why you may hear me suggest in a lot of YouTube videos to leverage the power of social media, which could be using a Facebook group, creating your own Facebook group, using an Instagram account. You could pay a social media influencer to promote your brand or wear a piece of your clothing or any product that you create with print on demand to boost your business on Etsy. That is an option as well. So those are things that you can do in order to leverage your business. And over time, I eventually used all 4 leverage strategies in all of the businesses I have created in my time. So the last concept I will leave you with in this video that is not derived from one book specifically, but it is a culmination of the books I've read in the past 5 years, which is to always keep learning and getting excited about learning a new concept or a new thing or a new skill set in your business. Now, this is something that I found after quitting my 9-to-5 and being an entrepreneur is entrepreneurship feels like the wild, wild west, where you don't really know what you're supposed to do sometimes. There's not a clear path. And I think being a business owner and an entrepreneur, that is why a lot of us may seek entrepreneurship, because it's kind of exciting and fun to be that way, but you can get off the beaten path and sometimes you may find you're not doing the things that you may feel like you should be doing at this time in your business. For me, this concept was just realizing that in the medical profession, I would be training for a few months under the supervision of someone else. And as an entrepreneur, I found that I'm not anymore with anyone above me. I don't have a supervisor who's watching my work. And those are things that I found through seeking out mentorship online. It's through watching a lot of YouTube videos. It's finding other entrepreneurs online that I found a community and a circle with. And I'm very lucky I found that. But if you're at that place right now where you may be kind of feeling like you're alone or by yourself, I would seek out maybe YouTube or investing in a course or a community, just so that you have other people you can relay information on, ask if, hey, this is right or this is right. And I do have my Facebook group called Print on Demand Friends on Facebook. So if you're a print on demand and Etsy business owner, this is a really great place to go to seek out some community and some support and help. There is also tons of courses. There's tons of other communities and YouTubers alike that you can watch that I really highly recommend to learn from. You know, there's not one way to do something. There's never one way to do one thing. This is something I learned when I was working as a healthcare worker and I worked at one of the top hospitals in Chicago. What I learned through that and through working with countless incredible doctors, incredible healthcare professionals, was that there's not one way to image a patient or a body part or an organ. Just like that, we can apply that to business. There's not one way to have a print on demand and Etsy business. And that's why I really encourage reading books, absorbing information, investing in courses, in classes to build skill sets, and also having a community. These are all really vital things as a business owner because, again, it's gonna feel like the wild, wild west, and that's very normal for being a business owner. But besides that, if you guys like this video, don't forget to like it, to share it to more people, subscribe, turn on your notification bells for more content like this, and I hope to see everyone in my next video. See you guys.